recording. Thank you, Jacie. Is your speaker's microphone still working?
Nope, we're good. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I just love looking at the chat here, because this is exactly what we were going to do to start out. So I'm just reading where everybody's from right now. If you could add what brings you here, that would be great. So people are putting their names in, where they're from, and then maybe just a couple words about what brings you here. Education. Very nice. Joliet, Montana. This is cool. If you can read the chat too, it's a nice way to kind of get to know each other. Different departments. Where are you from, Carrie? Like, what department do you work in? Oh, let me get some more people in here. Welcome. Ooh, there's some more coming in. I just enjoy reading the chat. Live transcript be enabled. Enable. There you go. Retired by accident. Awesome. So I have some folks coming in. That's cool, because this is really just, it's really just going to be a resource share out today. Just kind of a little bit about where we're at in our journey here in Billings. Nice. Wow, this is great. I wonder if any of you guys were in the powwow session. This is a much more relaxed session for me. The powwow class is always a little wild, but it's worth it for everybody involved if you were able to catch that. Yesterday, I was able to add to the slideshow the interview from the two dancers. So it's Callie Rushi Nicholson, and it's her. She was an advocacy award winner last year. And so her two little kids, they're kiddos, we interviewed them. It was so good. We were out by the teepee, and it was great. So that's added on there. If you ever wanted to go back and watch that again, it'll be available on the website, and of course it'll be on OPI as well. But today I want to share a little bit with you about culturally responsive practices. I started this journey maybe about 10 years ago. I took some courses from Bozeman, from Iowana, and worked with some colleagues here in town. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what that looks like for us. See this transcript? Let's get rid of that. Okay, I just want to make sure I catch anybody in the chat. Thank you. It was just a little talk, it was good. So here we are today in Billings. This is Crow Country. This is Psalica land. I always like to do a land acknowledgement of the people that came before me and are still here, alive and thriving today in Yellowstone County and the greater Eastern Montana region. I'd like to also honor the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota people of the North Dakota, South Dakota region, here in Montana as well. The Gros Ventre, Anishinaabe, people of the Rocky Boy Reservation, Flathead, Blackfeet, and all into Wyoming. It's really important that we acknowledge the land that we are on and where we come from as well. As human beings, it's really what can connect us at a more scientific level if you're really thinking about how important it is to just see each other as human beings and that we're all really just the same. So I mean, I know it just sounds, I talk to people about that sometimes and I just feel so cliche and it's like, but we're just all human. And that's just where my journey started, right? And so I was young and got into this area of research, and it's just a really interesting field. You've probably heard the term before. We just introduced ourselves, but I'm gonna take you on a little journey in what it means in Indian education for all. And then best practices for culturally responsive interventions. And so I did a little bit of research with my psychology background and pulled together some things that I use to train teachers in Billings. And then the protective factors for increased academic success, which actually comes out of OPI and Donnie Wetzel. So awesome. See some more people coming in here. This is great. So that was my little blessing to you. And then into what we have here in Montana. So Indian Education for All. This is the part of House Bill. This is MC. I don't what meant to go back and look this one up because I pulled this one later because I really wanted to bring back the actual law. I think this is the 2006 one. Here we go. Hold on, Christine. But it is in the law in the state of Montana that these specific words are in there. So it shouldn't be anything new to anybody. And I love it if people are like, oh, I know exactly what that one's from. And I just pulled it off of there and I was like, oh man, I should have put a year on there. So we'll make sure we get a year on there in the resources. I'm pretty sure that's 06. So that's where, Zach,
Jacie,
did you just
sorry
pop?
to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Maybe if you make me co-host, I would be able to admit people that are coming in late.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Sorry,
Got it.
just because I don't have access to it since I made you a host.
Okay.
Apologize.
No worries.
And Jacie, if you're asking about a year, it was 1999.
So this one, yeah, that's why it's MCA, because then they sued. There was a lawsuit in
right,
06.
and then the A&B funding that came out of the lawsuit was, I believe, 05 or 06.
Nice, thank you, Zach. I actually, when I looked at the slide and saw that it wasn't there, I was hoping that you were going to be here, and I should have just asked you in the first place, because I couldn't remember which one it was. Okay, I'm looking for you on here, Stephen. Hold on, my screen is so small. There we go. Okay. Make co-host. Make co-host. There you go, Stephen. Okay, should be good now. Okay, culturally responsive manner. This is in the bill in 99. And so this kind of leads us on a journey. There isn't a lot of research yet on, I mean, there's some stuff that's out there that really looks at the effectiveness of Indian education for all in an, in a qualitative and quantitative manner. And so a lot of what we do have, I don't know, I just did that. A lot of what we do have comes out of Alaska. And so this is part of the start of my journey. And it breaks it down into these 5 factors. And so this is a really good place to start, right? It's number 1, makes sense. And it's important to make note of these things as well, but we're going to focus on this specifically today. Self-reflective analysis of one's attitudes and beliefs, right? So this is really getting into, we use, it's in my resources, the misconceptions of American Indians, it's like 101. Zach, what's that one too? Caring, trusting, and inclusive classrooms. I have it in my resources. I should pull it down. Hold on. Resources. Maybe I don't have it in there. We need it in there. Oh, right there. American Indians 101 frequently asked questions. I love this document. It is such a good document. There's so much in here that you can look at for yourself, your students can look at. You could look at this in organizations. You can take this and look at it from a multicultural perspective and apply it to anything within the realm of multicultural education. And so here is our research, cultural literacy. We're going to focus on that: caring, trusting, inclusive classrooms, respect for diversity, transformative curriculum to engender meaning. And so this is really where, when we write lesson plans and build curriculum, read literature, and provide those resources for students, all of the steps in that process, bringing in elders, right? We're transforming the curriculum. And so in cultural literacy, you can read that whole thing if you want. This comes directly from that document. Studying the history and culture of Indian children, including their values, stories, music, and myths, as well as racism. And so thanks for our friend Shane Doyle. I mean, I don't know what we would do without him. I always got to give a shout out to him and all the advocacy award winners all the time, and everybody that's doing all of the heavy lifting all throughout Montana, because I know there's so many amazing people out there doing amazing things. But I would like you to just watch this video and just sit with it for a second and really think about what it means to you. Oh, I'm gonna have to change my, hold on. There we go. If it doesn't go, it might be. Did you hear it? Did it go? Let me see. Where's my chat? Did you hear anything? Can't hear it. We're gonna go one more time. Yeah, because it went into those.
Hey, Jacie.
Yep.
And you may know this, but when you go into the share your screen in the lower left, there's a little thing you check that says share my sound or share sound or something like that. You might try making sure that's checked on.
Yeah, on the bottom right next to the microphone in the little caret that says select a microphone. Right.
If you go share screen, and then when the share screen comes up with all your different windows, yeah, there's a little thing in the lower left.
Yeah, it's like it's not giving me anything.
Okay.
Maybe it's not. Okay, hold on. I think it's just being really slow right now. Hold on. Oh, cancel. No, don't do that. I almost escaped out. Hold on. Man.
That you'll ever learn about in this life.
There we go.
Yourself.
How's your sound there?
Sound is good, but we're not seeing your video.
Perfect. Awesome. There we go. There we go.
The
sound is good.
There are only 3 things that you'll ever learn about in this life. Yourself, the world, and how those things are related. The more we care and work to understand the sacred relationships that exist between ourselves and the things we need, the greater our wisdom becomes. Traditional Indigenous cultures around the world have always valued the wisdom that comes with respect. And respect is manifested in reciprocity. Giving back and paying forward is how we show that we value our place in the circle and that it is the wellspring of respect, discipline, and dignity. Native people on the Northern Plains have always understood that power and resilience come along with a reciprocal way of life, because being strong and being our best means being a part of a circle of love, not on top of a pyramid of money. Real wealth comes from connecting with all of our relatives in a way that enriches our sense of how we fit into the circle of life. All of our relatives include the plant and animal kingdoms and the elements and forces of nature, like water, fire, rocks, and the heavenly bodies. We are all related, and what we do to others, we ultimately do to ourselves. Even the relationship between our own bodies and the spirits require a balancing and focus on health and wellness. Reciprocity in our daily lives requires us to be aware of our blessings and thankful for our opportunity to grow and become better through our own continuous effort. Hope springs eternal, and time is always on our side when we choose to walk the path of reciprocity and build our relationships to be stronger. Native people have many ceremonies that are still used today to maintain our balance and connectedness to the world. And one of the most important is the giveaway ceremony. In this ceremony, individuals who achieve success or have good fortune in their lives choose to acknowledge their bright path by saying thank you to their friends in public with a gift. Giveaway ceremonies strengthen community ties. They provide hope and healing to families and individuals, and they instill a powerful sense of harmony in the world. None of us receives anything of value in this life without giving of ourselves to begin with. The more we can give towards an effort or cause, the greater our sense of self will become, and our wisdom, strength, and happiness will only grow as we mature into the leaders our communities need. Reciprocity is about more than just giving back and moving on. It's about being part of an endless circle of life and love and embracing our responsibilities to ourselves and all of our relatives.
Man, gets me every time. Sorry. Okay. So, got some books here for you that I use as well. I'm going to put my earbuds back in because I'm sure there's probably background noise. So hold on, hang tight. Okay, sounds good. You guys can hear me all right? Nice, thanks, good. Stephen. Awesome, thanks. Okay, so these are great places to start to read. I like the youth version of stuff because I feel like I can get through it faster because I have all these things that I have to do in the area of research, right? To become a practitioner of the knowledge, be on top of what's happening in multicultural education, what's the latest research say. And so these are the big books that we kind of, well, this has been around since 2006. So this is our, every teacher in Montana should have this on their shelf. Use your resources to make copies of this. You can find them, get them nice covers. They're all available on PDF. Should be on everybody's shelf and all over, right? Any organization. And it's just a really informative and gets you a little snippet of the tribe. So I don't want to get into them too deep because hopefully you saw a lot of it yesterday, but that's where you need to be to start your cultural literacy journey. Think about literacy, being able to read and write in the content, in whatever it is, right? If I'm literate in something, I can read and write in it. And so cultural literacy means I can read and write in a culture. And so you become somewhat of an anthropologist and you try to make genuine connections with a culture and be able to look at a resource or material and say, this is good. This seems like it's asked a lot of people, and it seems like it's got multiple perspectives. And so that's part of it, being able to read in it and then being able to talk the talk and be able to share that information with people who are willing to listen and become an ally. Of course, I got to always put a shout out to my own website, right? Plethora of information. A lot of it probably circles back to OPI, but I always got a shout out to my own. I love MontanaTribes.org. I love the learning lessons that we have on here for learning to say the names of the tribes. This is my favorite resources. I use this with kids all the time. And so you click on this and it'll say the name of the tribe for you and how they say their names. So this is building cultural literacy. So everything you did yesterday, right, with Indian education for all and curriculum really is the nuts and bolts of that. This is new. I really like it. It'll be interesting to see what we can bring with this and AIM and bringing together Holocaust and Black Lives Matter, Civil Rights Movement, all sorts of things. And then these two are my two favorite pieces as well. Kids love that site. Awesome. So best practices for providing. So you want to start by building your, sorry, I gotta fix this right here. You want to start by building your cultural literacy. So I tried to give you some resources and then just a little window into it with what Shane was talking about with Reciprocity. A really good book for that, as well as Braiding Sweetgrass. I should really add that one actually to that piece if you haven't read that book. That one right here. Wonder, let me see. There you go. Ooh, that's so interesting. Does it have to be in front of me? Oh, that's wild. Braiding Sweetgrass, shout out. I'll put it on the resource list. Okay, so this is the document I use for, so you're looking at short interventions. So a lot of folks that end up in this particular training are looking for, I'm working with a kid in a short period of time. I'm just tutoring him for a couple hours. Maybe you're a social worker in a school, maybe you're a social worker in an organization, or you're working with kids in an achievement capacity at the university level, whatever it might be. So this is something I pulled in from psychology. How am I doing on time? And this is a great chapter out of one of our developmental psychology. Well, it's more in the area of psychology for counseling, right? So it's not specific to like teaching psychology. So, there are two kind of different fields if you know psychology. So let's see, this is really great stuff, and they give you some information here. And I pulled a little bit for you. So building self-awareness, that's kind of what I was talking about with the 101 frequently asked questions. Strengthening your cultural awareness. The tribes of Montana, right? How many tribes are there? How many reservations are there? General understanding of geography of the region, maybe a little bit on their history, what their treaties might have been that they worked with, being very specific. And I linked some sites as well. The Montana Governor's Office of Indian Affairs, I believe, is the one that I have linked. And it takes you to each site, has a little snippet on each reservation, more from a governmental perspective, but it's really interesting because sovereignty is really important to understand the larger perspective that Indian people occupy in the state of Montana. I mean, we have so much land in perspective. There's a lot of land that is reservation land, and there's so much misunderstanding about it. And we haven't even started to scrape the surface of what all of it even means and how we effectively communicate what it's nations dealing with nations. It's a nation, it's its own entity. It's the only way I can never explain to kids. I'm like, think about it, like 567, there's a flag in the United States, 50 flags, those are states. Well, there's another 567 of them, right? Maybe 68 if you count Hill 57 in Great Falls. So there's my, so that's kind of what we were working with before. That's why I like this next piece. So practice with cultural intentionality. And so what does that mean? Work with the whole child, mind and body. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but like, what does that really mean? Let's just deep dive into it a little bit and think about it. Engage in dialogue with colleagues and continue to increase your cultural literacy. And it's so interesting because that's exactly what it said. So I did circled back. So complete intentional multicultural interviews. I'm going to give you an example of that here in a second. Explore your own culture's beliefs and values. Believe that you can be a part of a community and really know and understand a different ethnicity. So it's just confidence and being confident. Develop a list of professionals for consultation. We have people at OPI who are our experts and we can go to them all the time if we need them. And they're great and make themselves available and they're wonderful people. And it's great for them to be able to get out and come see us as well. Work from a strengths perspective. I think a lot of us have a pretty good idea of what that means, but it's that mindset where if a student is combative or what you think is combative, right? You think they're being defiant or changing that perspective to a trauma-informed approach and not try to, inflict re-traumatization. And so you're working from a strengths perspective and you just say, wow, that kiddo really knows what he wants. How can we better serve his needs? And so moving from that perspective and saying, okay, so do we have to provide a different space or different types of materials? Engage, and then so it comes back full circle in the sense of, reciprocity. So this is an example of an intentional cultural interview. And so this is the tree version of the cultural iceberg. I would have students look at the cultural iceberg. We actually did it with Freud and the id, the ego, and the superego. We would look at that as well. And then we would look at the iceberg and then we would look at the culture tree as well. So we kind of did a 3-part piece with that with my psychology students in the past. But thinking about it from an achievement perspective, you can spend, before you really even start getting into the nitty gritty, spending some time getting to know the kid. So you spend all this time getting to know different cultures, then you gotta deep dive into the individual. And so have the student and then explore these things with them and find ways to engage in a conversation about these things. And so I'll give a kid a tree and then you have a tree and they have a tree and you're like, oh, so what holidays do you celebrate? Oh, I powwow or I Hanukkah or whatever it might be, right? And so you're like, oh, we celebrate birthdays and 4th of July and they do too. And they're like, oh yeah, me too. And so then you make connections that way too. So this is an intentional cultural interview, right? Connecting with the family, super important. Whoever the support system is needs to be kept in the loop. And sometimes it's just picking up the phone. We have folks that'll like only talk to one person in the department or really just doesn't want to, deal with anybody but this person, or, they always call Jen or something like that. But there's a network of people to support the family. And they are also supporting you as well as the caretaker of their child for a period of time. So don't assume heterogeneity, right, in ethnic groups by, give me a second. We're not all the same, right? Not all norms are the same. Some American Indian cultures, it's not well established or known to like not look somebody in the eye or to look somebody in the eye. So it's actually in Western culture, I think, where a lot of that actually comes from when you think about culture in general on the planet and as human beings. I'm just thinking about how how do I explain this? Oh man, I don't know if I should go down that. if you have students who are from Asia, don't say they're Asian. Find out that they're South Korean, or they're from an island nation, wherever they're from. But don't just say my student's Asian. If they're Chinese, we have students from Myanmar. I think that's how you say it. We have students from all over Afghanistan, Japan. That's kind of a different situation, but we have quite a significant population of Ls, so we're always thinking about these things with our Ls too. I was just thinking about tying that in. I hadn't tied in the L stuff yet a lot. So, or multilingual which is the direction we're moving in now. So don't assume anything about our cultures, that like I look somebody in the eye or somebody doesn't look somebody in the eye, depending on the culture. So I wasn't raised that way. Some people were, and you can't assume that we're all that way. Learn about a child's culture from the family. It's a tough one, because there are some things that are the same in American Indian culture, and some of it isn't unique to our culture. It's unique to a lot of Indigenous culture, but it's collectivist culture and individualistic culture. So it's a deep dive. I mean, right now we would actually go take a deep dive into those two things, but we don't have time for it. So I don't usually explain that one, but just thinking about not assuming, finding out the differences. It's essential understanding. Number 1 and 2, don't assume that all tribes are the same, and don't assume all individuals from the same tribe are the same. Learn about a child's culture from the family. What tribe are they from? Do they participate in powwow? Have they, do they dance? Do they sing? Is there anything they can do to support that? I love this out of Alaska again. There's some good stuff there too. And this is out of the Queen's University, and it talks a lot about Statham. Sorry, hold on. Okay. So this is again reciprocal relationships. Respect. Jordan was talking about this yesterday in her session. I have them written down. So adjusting to the different ways that a community operates, as far as grandmas, students might be going to multiple funerals from multiple grandparents. Students might have moms and dads, and you see a dad one time and then there's another dad another time. You're like, oh, it's just dads, but there actually could be a lot more to that. So, you know, we have a strong influx of Crow culture here in Billings, the Apsalica people. And so I don't know how familiar you guys are with this region, but it's heavily Crow. Shane is Apsalica, and he grew up right out here in Crow Agency. And so I wish I could show you the actual graph that I have, but it's like 75% of our students are Crow, and then the next one's Northern Cheyenne, and then Fort Peck. And so that's the culture within we as providers, practitioners for those students, and their success and their achievement and the ability to then become academically successful. You know, we're providing the underlying needs that help them to become successful, right? And so, you know, how do you do that in a culturally responsive way, right, in a short period of time? And this is a good resource to check it out. And it gives you all sorts of really good stuff to go off of. And then keep the family active in the intervention and progress and monitoring. And I can't stress this enough, always tell parents about good things too, right? Something good has happened. Even if you've never interacted with a parent that was or wasn't. And I think we should be doing this for all of our students and all of us, young people that we interact with. So then protective factors, this comes out of OPI as well. I just, can't get enough, right? It's experts that know what they're doing, and And so this is the overall of the document. You can check that out. I'm going to give you nuts and bolts of it. Really, I would suggest diving into this resource that we have available here and organizing it for yourself, and put some thought into how you would organize, and the way that the team obviously put it together makes sense to them, but it's also, remember, these things are put together in a way, especially when they're put together by Indigenous people, it's reciprocal, it's in a circle, it's not linear, it's not, you know, an outline, it's usually in a circle. And so you can take those pieces and move them, you know, depending on your needs, wherever you need them to be. And so I just love the way they have it set up. And so then the one I want to deep dive into is this one a little bit. So create spaces that positively display indigeneity and reflect the student population. Wow, yeah, I was at the powwow for 10 hours yesterday, so please forgive me. It has been a pretty long week and getting ready for the powwow, so I do apologize. So this is, how do I create a space that's inviting? And then so Heart Butte, I think we even had somebody that is from here. Oh, that is not what I wanted. Why'd you do that, buddy? Right here, hold on. Oh, because it's not probably actually linked, because this is just a screenshot. Oh, that's silly. That's funny. Okay, so I can find it very quickly here, because I know where everything is at in this bad boy. Oh, so here you go. And this provides some more information about, oh, I don't know. So, okay, so there you go. It must have just clicked because you click out of the ad. So this is a great story. You should read it. And then Montana Tribal Guide. Close out of that so I don't get too bogged down. Sounds great. Falls Tribune. And so I think about this one as, when I've kind of been talking about it already, you know, it's safe spaces. And then I learned that safe spaces is something else too, which is really interesting. But say, you know, the idea of a safe space to be, and to be able to interact. Ooh, I am going to be wrapping this up pretty quick. So self-identity, which can positively impact the health and wellness of the student. So if the overall goal is the health and wellness of the student, creating spaces that are inviting and warm and welcoming, you know, reflective of their culture is even better, right? If I can have some stuff around. Here's the powwow from yesterday. So this is something that, you know, I encourage teachers when they go to a powwow or something like that, and they get a pamphlet to put it in their room. If they get a t-shirt, to hang it up. And get stuff at the powwow too. It's a great place to get earrings or necklaces or something like that. And then what is CRP? Actively participate, building in cultural literacy and evaluate your own biases. Example, nonfiction reading. What are best practices for culturally responsive interventions? Work with the whole child, learn about the child's culture, and involve the family. Culture tree is a great way to do that. What are protective factors? So work within the cultural community and strengthen identity for positive mental health. And then this bottom one, it's like at the bottom of my screen. So planning, stop share. Oh, planning the powwow in our district. So that was one example of something we did. So we have about 3 minutes. You are welcome to go. If you want to ask a question real quick, we got a couple minutes, I believe, and we will be out of here. I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you so much for being here. And don't ever hesitate to reach out if you need something. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Yes, and I'm going to add some more too, and I'll always be adding to them, and they're always available back on OPI site. Like, and it gets updated, so it's all available resources for you guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jacie. We
you.
appreciate you. And just for the folks on here, the next session starts at 2:30. So hope to see everybody on a session then. And thanks again, Jacie.
Jacie, Jennifer actually asked me to not end this, but I don't have that capability just because you're the host.
So
Just
I
in case
think,
people
okay.
want to stay in here, and the next presenter will be jumping on shortly.
Absolutely.